I spent my birthday sitting alone, while my entire family laughed and cheered for my sister at the same table. I told myself I was used to being invisible, but that night, something felt different. And when the waiter slipped a folded note beside my plate, my heart nearly stopped. Because someone out there knew my family's darkest secret, and they wanted me to know it too. My name is Emily Carter, and I turned 25 on the night my family forgot I even existed. The restaurant smelled of roasted garlic and warm bread, the kind of place where birthdays were supposed to feel special. But at our table for 10, the only candles flickering belonged to the massive cake in front of my sister, Claire. She was turning 27, 2 years older, 2 years brighter, 2 years better, at least in my parents' eyes. Claire had always been the star. The firstborn, the golden child, the one who excelled in school, sports, and later, her career. My parents liked to brag about her job in corporate law, how she had already bought her own condo, how she always seemed to shine in every room. Meanwhile, I was Emily, the quiet one, the artsy one, the one still living in a rented apartment, working a design job they never quite took seriously. Make a wish, honey. Mom beamed, holding up her phone as Claire leaned over the cake. Everyone clapped, cheering as if the whole restaurant should join in. My father patted her back proudly, while relatives lifted their wine glasses in a toast. No one noticed the single slice of bread on my plate. No one noticed the silence sitting heavy in my chest. It wasn't the first time. Every milestone of mine had been overshadowed by Claire's spotlight. When I graduated college, my parents cut my celebration short to attend her engagement dinner. When I landed my first job, it was dismissed as cute compared to her 6-figure salary. Even in family photos, I was often off to the side, cropped out by accident. Or maybe not. But tonight hurt in a different way. Tonight was my birthday too. I checked the time on my phone, 8:17 p.m. Not a single happy birthday text from my parents, not even from Claire. My best friend Mia had messaged me earlier, but she was traveling out of town. Sitting there, surrounded by family yet completely alone, I felt like a stranger in my own life. Then it happened. The waiter, a young man with tired eyes, set down a glass of water in front of me. As he did, he slipped a folded piece of paper beneath my napkin so discreetly no one else noticed. His gaze met mine for half a second, serious, almost urgent, before he walked away. My pulse quickened. I glanced around. Everyone was too busy laughing at Claire's story about her latest promotion. Nobody noticed me slowly sliding the note into my lap. My hands trembled as I unfolded it. The handwriting was sharp, rushed, almost desperate. Just 7 words scrawled across the page. Emily, you deserve the truth. Ask about 1998. My stomach dropped. I was born in 1998. And suddenly, I realized I wasn't as invisible to this family as they wanted me to believe. Someone out there knew something. Something big. Emily stares at the note, heart pounding, knowing her life is about to split into before and after. I couldn't take my eyes off the note. 7 words, scribbled in rushed ink, yet they rattled louder than the laughter echoing around me. Emily, you deserve the truth. Ask about 1998. I read it again. And again. Each time, the year pulsed brighter in my mind, 1998. My birth year. My beginning. But why would a stranger tell me to ask about it? I slipped the paper into my purse, my fingers trembling as though I were hiding contraband. Around me, Claire's laughter filled the table, followed by the clinking of wine glasses. I forced a smile whenever someone glanced in my direction, but inside, my stomach was twisted into knots. My parents never talked much about my early childhood. Claire's baby albums filled shelves at home, but mine were sparse, 2, maybe 3 photos scattered in an old box. Whenever I'd asked, my mother would say she was too busy chasing 2 kids around to keep up with photos. I had always accepted that. Until now. Now the silence around my childhood felt deliberate. I excused myself quietly, muttering something about the restroom. Nobody stopped me. Nobody even looked up. My absence blended into the noise of Claire's spotlight, as always. Inside the dim hallway leading to the restrooms, I leaned against the wall, pressing the note against my chest. I couldn't shake the feeling that the waiter hadn't just been doing his job. He had been delivering a message, one meant for me, and me alone. I had to find him. When I returned to the dining area, I scanned the floor. The waiter was near the bar, punching something into the register. Our eyes met for a split second before he quickly looked away. My heart pounded as I crossed the room, weaving between tables, until I stood just a few feet from him. "Excuse me," I whispered, trying to keep my voice steady. You gave me this note." He didn't look surprised. Instead, his expression tightened. "Not here," he muttered under his breath. "They'll notice." I frowned. "They?" Before I could ask anything else, another server called his name, and he disappeared into the kitchen. I stood frozen, clutching the folded paper in my hand. When I returned to my family's table, Claire was opening gifts. Everyone and not over the designer handbag my parents had given her. My seat sat empty, my plate untouched. Nobody noticed my red face, my shaky hands, or the storm brewing inside me. For the rest of the night, I barely heard the chatter around me. My mind kept circling back to the waiter's words, "Not here," and the chilling year written on the paper. When the bill finally came, my father reached for it, laughing. Claire kissed him on the cheek, and everyone began gathering their coats. My birthday, my 25th birthday, had gone completely unmentioned. But as we walked out of the restaurant, I made a decision. If no one in my family would acknowledge me, then I would force them to. I would ask about 1998, and I would not stop until I knew the truth. Emily resolves to confront her family about the note, but has no idea the answer will shatter everything she believes about who she really is. That night, sleep refused to come. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, the note crumpled on my nightstand like a ticking bomb. "Emily, you deserve the truth. Ask about 1998. The words pulsed behind my eyelids. I grabbed my phone at 2:13 a.m. and scrolled through old photos I'd saved from our family albums. Claire in her Little League uniform, Claire blowing out candles, Claire in every major moment. But me? Only scattered appearances, always in the background, never the star. And then I noticed something I had never questioned before. My earliest photo wasn't until I was nearly 2 years old. No baby photos. No first steps. No welcome home from the hospital. Nothing. A chill crawled up my spine. By morning, I knew I had to ask. At breakfast, I sat across from my mother at the kitchen table. She was sipping coffee, scrolling through her tablet. My father was in his usual spot, reading the newspaper. Claire wasn't around, probably sleeping off her hangover of attention from last night's celebration. I cleared my throat. "Mom, Dad, I want to ask you something." They both looked up. "What happened in 1998? I asked carefully. The reaction was immediate. My mother's face drained of color, her hand frozen around her coffee mug. My father's newspaper lowered an inch, his eyes sharp and calculating. "What kind of question is that?" Dad said finally, his voice too calm. I just realized I don't have any baby photos. None before age 2. I was born in 1998. "Why is that?" Silence. Mom forced a smile, but it was brittle. "Emily, you were a difficult baby. In and out of the hospital a lot. We didn't have time for cameras. That's all." Her words sounded rehearsed. Flat. "And why does that matter now?" Dad added, his gaze narrowing. "Why are you suddenly asking questions?" My pulse hammered. Should I mention the note? The waiter? The urgency in his eyes? "No, not yet. Just curious," I lied, pushing my plate away. But inside, suspicion gnawed at me. They weren't telling the truth. Later that afternoon, while they were out running errands, I crept into the attic. Dust clung to the air as I rifled through boxes labeled Claire in bold marker. Inside, neat albums, baby blankets, her hospital bracelet, even locks of hair tied in ribbon. Then I found a small, battered box shoved in the corner. No label. My breath caught as I pulled it open. Inside were a handful of photos, grainy, faded. And in them was me. But not with my family. A different woman held me in her arms. Her eyes were soft, her smile tender. She wasn't my mother. And on the back of one photo, written in faded ink, was a single word. Anna. Emily discovers evidence that another woman, Anna, was tied to her infancy, a truth her parents never mentioned. The photo shook in my hands as if it carried its own heartbeat. The woman, Anna, looked nothing like my mother. Her hair was darker, her smile softer, her arms wrapped around me with the kind of tenderness I had long craved from the woman I called Mom. Who was she? And why had my parents hidden her? I tucked the photo back into the box, my fingers brushing against another item beneath it. A thin envelope, yellowed with time. Inside was a birth certificate. My breath caught as I read the details. Name, Emily Carter. Date of birth, May 12, 1998. Mother, Anna Brooks. Father, blank. The certificate was stamped but incomplete. The father's name had been left empty. I sat there in the dust, my chest tight, as the truth pressed against me like a storm at the door. All my life I had been told I was my parents' child. But this paper told me otherwise. The sound of the front door slamming downstairs jolted me. My parents were back. Panic surged through me as I stuffed the photos and certificate back into the box, shoving it behind the others before creeping back down the attic ladder. That evening, I couldn't hold it in anymore. As we sat at dinner, my fork clattered against the plate. "Who is Anna?" The question hung heavy in the air. My mother froze, her face pale as chalk. My father's fork stopped halfway to his mouth. "Where did you hear that name?" His voice was low, dangerous. My heart thudded. I found old photos, with her holding me, and a birth certificate, with her listed as my mother. The silence stretched, suffocating. Finally, my mother spoke, her voice trembling. "Emily, you don't understand. Things were complicated back then." "Complicated?" My voice cracked. "You let me grow up believing you were my mother, believing I was nothing compared to Claire. And now I find out I don't even know who I am." Tears welled in my eyes, but anger burned hotter. My father slammed his hand on the table, making the glasses rattle. "Enough! You were given a good life. That's all that matters." "No!" I shot back, my voice shaking but loud. "What matters is the truth. Who is Anna? Why did you hide her from me?" My mother's lips trembled as though the words might spill out, but my father's glare cut through her hesitation. Finally, she whispered, barely audible, "She was your real mother." The room spun. My throat tightened. My whole life, rewritten in one breath. Before I could respond, my father's voice cut like steel. "This conversation is over. You will never mention her again." But deep down, I knew the opposite. This conversation had only just begun. Emily learns Anna is her biological mother, but her father shuts down the truth, leaving her more determined than ever to uncover what really happened in 1998. I couldn't breathe inside that house anymore. Every wall felt like it was closing in, every glance from my father like a warning not to dig deeper. But the more they tried to silence me, the louder my questions became. So the next day, I went back to the restaurant. The waiter was there again, carrying a tray of drinks. When he saw me standing by the entrance, his steps faltered. I didn't move until he finally set the tray down and walked over, his jaw tight. "You weren't supposed to ask them yet," he said under his breath. My pulse jumped. "You know about Anna, don't you?" His eyes searched mine, as if weighing how much I could handle. Finally, he nodded. "I do. And I knew you'd never hear it from them. That's why I left you the note." "Who are you?" I demanded. "Why do you care about me?" He hesitated, then motioned for me to follow him outside. We slipped into the alley behind the restaurant, the hum of the city muffled by brick walls. "My name's Daniel," he said. "Anna was my aunt." The world tilted. "Your aunt?" He nodded, his gaze heavy with sadness. "When you were born, Anna wasn't ready to raise you alone. She struggled, financially, emotionally. She thought your parents could give you the life she couldn't. But what they told her, what they promised her," he trailed off, his voice hardening. "It wasn't what they did." I gripped my arms to keep from shaking. "What do you mean?" Daniel's jaw tightened. "They told her she could still be part of your life. That you'd grow up knowing who she was. But instead, they cut her out completely. Changed your documents. Told you she didn't exist." I staggered back, my stomach lurching. My parents hadn't just lied to me. They had stolen me from Anna. "Where is she now?" My voice cracked. "Where's Anna?" Daniel looked away, and my heart plummeted. "She passed away 5 years ago." The air left my lungs. I pressed a hand to the wall, fighting the crushing weight of grief for a mother I never knew. Daniel's voice softened. "She never stopped talking about you. She tried to fight for you, but your father, he made sure she never got close. Her last wish was that someday you'd know the truth. That's why I've been watching, waiting for the right moment." Tears blurred my vision. "Why me? Why now?" "Because," he said, pulling something from his jacket pocket, a small, worn journal. "Anna left this for you. And you're old enough now to see what your family has been hiding." He pressed it into my hands. The leather was cracked, the pages stuffed with folded letters. My fingers trembled as I clutched it to my chest. Daniel leaned closer, his voice urgent. "Read it carefully, but be careful who you trust. Your father would do anything to keep these secrets buried. Emily receives Anna's journal, a key to the hidden truth. But Daniel warns her that her father will stop at nothing to silence her." I sat on my bed with the journal in my lap, the house quiet around me. My fingers traced the worn leather cover, afraid of what I might find inside, yet unable to resist. The first page was dated June 1998. Just a month after I was born. Emily is beautiful. Perfect. I never thought I could love someone this much. But I can't give her the life she deserves. My sister and her husband say they can help. They promise they'll let me see her. They promise she'll know I'm her mother. My throat tightened. My sister? My hands shook as I read the words again. My mother, Margaret, was Anna's sister. That meant Claire wasn't my full sister. She was my cousin. I flipped through the pages, each one heavier than the last. August 1999. They won't let me in the house anymore. They say Emily gets confused when I visit. They say it's better if I stop coming. But she's my baby. My baby. March 2001. He threatened me today. Said if I tried to take her back, he'd ruin me. He has money. Lawyers. I have nothing. How did I ever believe them? The words blurred as tears filled my eyes. My father hadn't just silenced Anna. He'd intimidated her into disappearing. I turned to the last entry, written in shaky handwriting years later. Emily is 12 now. She must be so grown. I saw her from afar once, walking home from school. She looked so much like me. I wanted to run to her, to hold her. But I couldn't. If you're reading this someday, my love, please know. I never gave you up because I didn't love you. I gave you up because I thought you'd be safe. I was wrong. The journal slipped from my hands as sobs shook me. I wasn't the unwanted shadow of the family. I was the stolen child. I didn't hear the footsteps until the door creaked open. My father stood there, his face dark and unreadable. His eyes dropped to the journal lying open on my bed. Where did you get that? His voice was low, dangerous. Panic surged through me. I scrambled to grab it, but he was faster, snatching it from the sheets. His hands trembled as he flipped through the pages, then slammed it shut. You had no right to this, he growled. It's my mother's. I shouted, my voice breaking. My real mother's. You lied to me my whole life. His eyes blazed with something I'd never seen before, not just anger, but fear. You don't understand what you're playing with, Emily. Some things are better left buried. I rose to my feet, defiant even though my legs shook. No, the truth isn't yours to bury anymore. His jaw tightened, his grip on the journal white-knuckled. For a moment, I thought he might tear it apart. But instead, he stepped closer, lowering his voice to a chilling whisper. If you tell anyone what's in here, you'll destroy this family. Do you really want that on your hands? The question hung in the air like a noose. Emily's father catches her with the journal, threatening her to keep the truth hidden, or risk tearing the family apart. I barely slept that night. My father's words clung to me like chains. You'll destroy this family. But hadn't they already destroyed me? By morning, my decision was made. I was done living as a shadow in my own life. That evening, we gathered again in the dining room. My parents, Claire, and me. My father at the head of the table, Claire glowing under the attention, my mother silent as ever. I stood slowly, clutching the journal against my chest. I have something to say. Claire rolled her eyes. Oh God, what now, Emily? My father's gaze was sharp, warning. Sit down. No, I said, my voice trembling but louder than I expected. I've been invisible long enough. Not anymore. I opened the journal, flipping to the last page. My mother, Anna, had written the words in her fragile hand, words meant only for me. But tonight, everyone would hear them. I read aloud. Emily, please know, I never gave you up because I didn't love you. I gave you up because I thought you'd be safe. I was wrong. The room froze. Claire's smile faltered. My mother's fork clattered to the plate. My father's face drained of color. What are you talking about? Claire whispered. I looked straight at her. You're not my sister. You're my cousin. The woman you've all pretended never existed. Anna, she was my real mother. And you. I turned to my father, my voice breaking. You took me from her. My mother buried her face in her hands, sobbing. Claire shook her head, whispering, That's not true. Tell me that's not true. But my father, he said nothing. His silence was louder than any denial. I felt my heart breaking and mending at the same time. For the first time in my life, I wasn't the forgotten daughter. I was the truth no one could silence. I don't care if it destroys this family, I said, tears streaming down my face. Because you destroyed Anna. And you destroyed me. But you won't control me anymore. The words rang through the dining room, final and unshakable. My father rose, fists clenched, but my mother stood too between us. Her eyes blazed with something I'd never seen in her before, defiance. Enough, Richard, she said, her voice shaking but strong. It's time she knows everything. It's time we all stop living in lies. For once, Claire didn't speak. She just stared at me, wide-eyed, as if seeing me for the first time. I clutched the journal tighter, Anna's words echoing in my chest. This wasn't the birthday I'd imagined, but it was the birthday I'd finally been born into the truth. And nothing would ever be the same again. Emily shatters the family's silence by exposing Anna's words at the dinner table, forcing her parents and Claire to face the truth. Her life has broken AP art, but for the first time, it's hers to rebuild. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Thank you.